Good good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Texas Empowerment. I know you see a lot of beautiful women here with me this evening, and I'm so very, very, very blessed that they're here joining me this evening. I have some very astute women that's going to bring a perspective and talk to us about lupus awareness. This is Lupus Awareness Month. But before we get started, first of all, welcome to West Texas Empowerment. We're glad that you all joined us. The members, there are 4 members that's here this evening from KKINSO. And we lost a sister this week. Her name was Rebecca Morales. We lost her to COVID. She's a very young woman. And I wanted to take the very first few minutes to just do a moment of silence. She was the vice president and chapter member of the New York State alumni member of the charter of KKINSO. She leaves behind a very young daughter. Her name is Selena. And there's also 2 line sisters that she leaves behind as well. Danny Sky and Rowena DeJesus. So I would just like to take a moment of silence as we remember her because she lost her battle with COVID this week. And so we want to keep her family in our prayers, and we want to keep them on our hearts as we move the next days, because it's never easy to lose any family member, but it is definitely very hard when we all are trying to figure out COVID. We're all trying to figure out how that affects our lives, and there's no blueprint to it. You know, there are some people who bounce back. There's some people who don't. Young, old, we just don't know. So if we could just give a few moments of silence in remember of our beloved sister Rebecca Morales. Okay. Thank you guys for that. As we open up this evening, I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to tell you who they are, to tell you we kind of cover the whole map this evening. I love to see women come together. This is a collaboration of women from different walks of life, different areas, different experiences. So we're going to start with Dr. Karen. Can you tell West Texas Empowerment and the people that's watching who you are?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. My name is Karen Smith. I am a family doctor. I do global outreach work and mission work, and I live in Maynard, Texas, which is near Austin and very near Bastrop. And we have a Maynard Community Wellness Alliance, all volunteer here. In the last month, we've given out 4,000 COVID shots to people who are having obstacles getting them through other means with just volunteers. But I had lost a friend to lupus when I was young. I've lost a patient to lupus that broke my heart, and was able to save 1 patient by the grace of God. So we'll get to those stories in a minute.
Thank you, Dr. Karen. Latoya?
Good evening. Thank you, KKINSO, for extending an invite to Lambda Sigma Sigma Lupus Sorority Incorporated to attend this webinar in order to bring awareness and support to lupus. My name is Latoya Foreman from Houston, Texas, and I'm a pledge of Lambda Sigma Sigma Lupus Sorority Incorporated, where our founder, Lakasha Lee. And our mission is to support and advocate for all people with lupus, and volunteer and or financially support various lupus advocacy organizations. And again, I do thank you for allowing myself and Amanda to sit on this panel. I am diagnosed with lupus since October 2019. It took a long time for it to finally get the diagnosis, but I mentioned before, just having the diagnosis, yes, it put a lump in my throat. However, I was relieved when they finally gave me a name to put with all my aches and pains. But thank you for having me on this panel.
Amanda?
Hi everyone. Again, thank you for having us on your panel. My name is Amanda Delgado. I'm also a pledge for Lambda Sigma Sigma Lupus Sorority Incorporated. I was diagnosed with lupus October of 2020. And also, it took a while for that lupus or that diagnosis to come. And I'm excited to spread awareness, to learn with y'all, and to get the word out about lupus during this month. So again, thank y'all for allowing us to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Shawanda?
Am I still on mute? Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Shawana Willard. I am from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I am a Lupus Warrior. I have joined the Lupus Foundations in making people aware of what lupus is and trying to help raise funds for lupus. I am have been diagnosed, excuse me, I've been diagnosed with lupus back in 2010 of December. At the same time, I was diagnosed with type 2 sugar diabetes. And then I was just recently diagnosed 3 years ago with rheumatoid arthritis. Thank you for having me on your panel. I really do appreciate it.
Okay. Elma?
Hello, everyone. I am Elma Fowler. I am joining the panel this afternoon to speak on the perspective of a coworker who has lupus and how it has affected our entire team in our office. And I live in Bastrop, Texas, which is just shy of Austin. And I appreciate you all inviting me because I am the vice president of KKINSO, Texas Alumni Association. And again, I just appreciate being a part of the panel.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vanika Brown. I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I currently reside in Columbia, South Carolina. I am the president of KKINSO South Carolina Alumni Chapter, and I was diagnosed with lupus in 2017 of September. A lot of this is still fresh, new to me. So I am more than happy to be open to any ideas of me dealing with different flares. I guess we'll get to the definition of that later in the show, but I am so happy to be a part of this panel today. Karen with the
Yes,
C.
I'm Karen Rogers. I am the president of the Texas Alumni Chapter of KKINSO, and I am coming with the perspective of a family member with lupus. And I am just excited to be a part of this panel. I guess, Miss Karen, you can start. Miss Karen with a K.
I would be happy to, Miss Karen with the C. I have 3 stories, and for sake of time, I'm running in my head over which is the most impactful. I think I'll start with a patient that I had in Fort Worth maybe 7 or 10 years ago. I was admitting patients as a doctor who did hospital work, and I was told that I had a 28-year-old woman of color admitted to my service for chest pain. And I'm going to be bluntly honest about our medical system and how we treat women and how we treat people of color and how we treat women of color. I don't remember who told me, but I remember that the idea was our eyebrows are raised. We have a young Black woman who says she's in pain. And that was the message that I got. Come and admit this person who thinks she has pain. And I think it's really important for all of us, whatever field we're in, but especially doctors and nurses, that we remember to set aside those kinds of comments and not let other people determine our first impression of someone. And so I had been trained to set those things aside, thank goodness. And I decided to go in and hear this patient for herself without the prejudice, without the attribution, without the interpretation that someone else was trying to give me. And I went and talked to her. And I'm going to be very blunt. She was very emotional. Of course, she was very emotional. She was in pain. She was obese. She was young. She had chest pain. And that doesn't fit any patterns neatly in a doctor's head for a heart attack. Heart attacks are supposed to happen more in men, more in older people. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and just be professional. So I consulted cardiology to listen to her story and see if she needed testing and to take her seriously. And that decision in that moment probably changed the course of her life, because we were very, very fortunate which cardiologist we got. We got a very good cardiologist who happened to be an immigrant. He was from Eastern Europe. He looked like a white guy, had a weird name. And he called me the next day and he said, "Your patient had a heart attack." And I said, "What?" "She's 28 years old. She's a woman." He said, "She has something called Takotsubo syndrome. It's pretty rare. It can be caused by stress, but it can also be caused by lupus. So I'm going to test her because she has this rare cardiac syndrome." So there were a couple of things that worked well here. One was he was not a narrow-minded person. He was an outside-the-box thinker. And the third was he was just a very well-educated cardiologist who knew about unusual things, not just the, we do this every time, this is a heart attack, this is not. He knew about Takotsubo syndrome. And he tested her, and the test came back positive for lupus. And we began to treat her, and she got better. It's not easy to be treated for lupus. I don't have to tell you guys. She had to be on a lot of steroids. They made her gain weight. She was not a rich person. She was a young person. She didn't get a lot of respect in the community, but she lived. And we were able to save her heart. We were able to treat her lupus. And many, many years later, she's alive. And we're still friends on Facebook. And I'm going to let her know about this broadcast. I'm not going to give you her name. That would be a violation of her privacy. But I think all the things that could have happened to her that day, if I hadn't been trained to take a break, set aside someone else's interpretation, and hear my patient for myself, no matter what category. 28-year-old women can't have chest pain. That's not true. 28-year-old women rarely have heart attacks. That is true, but it's not never. And as a scientist, you have to remember the science, not just the generalizations, or you end up not diagnosing people and misdiagnosing people. And I'm going to take one more second of our time to put this out there. We have data inside of our own profession that shows that doctors don't listen to women of color when they say they hurt. This is horrific. This is horrific. And that people end up suffering because of how they're interpreted. It is true for all women. I know women of other skin colors. I'm not going to say races because there is no such thing scientifically and genetically as race. It is a cultural thing that we've all invented. But women with darker skin and from certain, I won't even say neighborhoods or economies, because it happens to rich Black women, educated Black women. Women of color aren't heard in our society, and they're not heard in the exam room, and it has cost many people their lives. I'm so glad that I got a cardiologist who listened, and I'm so glad that she got a general hospitalist who listened. And she's alive today because of that, but it doesn't happen often enough yet. And that's enough preaching from me. I'll let somebody else talk for a minute.
Dr. Karen, I thank you so very much for sharing that, because that was actually a question I was going to ask you. Is it a myth that we're just treated different when we're seeking help and it's not being diagnosed? Because when I did when I did some research, that was one of the things. So thank you so very much for sharing that information and going that extra step of just taking your time out. And I know you're a wonderful person. I've had the opportunity to serve with you so many times in the United Methodist Church. So I know what you do. So thank you so much. Don't go anywhere, but thank you so much for sharing that with us. So let's talk about the family members. So Karen and Elma, talk to us about being a family member of someone with lupus, a caregiver. Talk to us about the caregiver.
Well, on my perspective, my brother was diagnosed with lupus. My mother has rheumatoid arthritis. They are stating that it is hereditary, but he had some years back he had a migraine headache that just never went away, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. So my mom was out of town, and he called my mom and said has a headache, and he's like, I can't just, it's not going away. So she's like, I need you to go to the doctor. And so when he went to the doctor, they ran a lot of tests and everything, and that's when he was diagnosed with lupus. But being with lupus and him being a man, men don't really express themselves, so he has a lot of side effects at times. And but he's very active. He's was a bodybuilder. He started bodybuilding and was in competitions at the age of 50, and it he had it then. But being him being athletic as he was, he it helped him out a lot with the side effects of him not hurting, but stress of him losing his daughter, us losing our sister, distress at work that he would have. Um, Breakouts, like his face, he has like a little discoloration on his face. He would swell up, his feet swells up. He has his moments, and that is a horrible feeling, that you can't help anyone, um, to but you just have to pray and be there for them. But as a sister, you just got to stay encouraged, and because still with rheumatoid arthritis, you still have side effects too, and that's a part of lupus. But it's everybody, it's heartbreaking, you know. But that's on my perspective as a family member that's dealing with it, and you just to know that it's no cure for lupus, and you just have to try to live your best life and do what you can do. And when you have your moments, you just gotta help that person out, in any situation that you can help them out with. So that's mine as a family member.
Elma.
I think you're on mute, Elma.
Um, I think that's it now. Thought I took it off. So I'm
That's it.
coming from the perspective of having a coworker who has lupus. She was diagnosed, I'm going to say about 7 years ago, and it had a tremendous impact on her life. Um, so much so that her husband at that particular time could not deal with the lupus, and they ended up splitting because of that. She had a young son at the time, has one. He was 5 at the time, and it was traumatic, because she had pains and she had aches, and she didn't, really know how to deal with this. And then she didn't have that support system, so she ended up having to rely more on her parents who are older, to help her with her son. And so it's this constant battle, daily. And like Karen said, the stress can be overwhelming because in the process, she's growing her career and she's moving into different positions. So she has to learn different things. And so that creates the migraines and the body aches and the pains because she's trying to keep moving ahead in life, but at the same time, you have this condition that is trying to shut things down. And so, as co-workers, we try to support her when she's not there, because we know she's not taking off just because she wants to take off. She really can't get out the bed, or her migraine is so bad where she's not seeing and able to focus and those types of things. So we try to support her by not calling her if we don't have to, unless it's absolutely necessary to get something done, because it is just time that she has to rest. She has to take care of herself. And that can be difficult when you are trying to take care of a child, a family member, or someone else, when you have this disease and you need to take care of you as well. So I appreciate you ladies who are survivors and warriors with the disease, because I just know from outside looking in what she deals with, and the fact that you all have this disease and you do everything within your power to continue life and live a whole complete life with this. I just can't say enough how I am so grateful for you all being here and sharing your stories with us, so we can better help you and women like you with this disease. Because what I get from you all today, I will be able to take back and use to support her. So again, I just appreciate you all sharing your time with us this evening.
Karen, I want to go back to you because you named your brother's is unique, because you don't hear, and when I did my research, I didn't hear or see a lot of men. So you said he was very, very active. So what and how did was it you guys as a family to get him to go get diagnosed? Because that's you brought a very unique perspective as from a man's perspective, because as you could tell, everyone are women. So can you just touch on that a little bit?
Well, he actually, my mom got him to go to the doctor. She didn't know what was going on with him, but she was able to get him to, well, she hold up. She might have set up the doctor's appointment. She's right here with me, listening to the forum right now. But she was able to get him to go, and she knew some of the symptoms because she had some. She still had some of those symptoms as well, but it just didn't go away. It skipped around. I didn't have anything. It's just like having cancer. Everything skips around in families. So she was able to get him to go, and that's what was diagnosed with it. But I don't think he took it as serious at times, because he was not, he would run out the meds, and he didn't have his meds and didn't go to the doctor as he should. So I think more so now, he's more in tune with what he needs to do, being active, eating right. He's always ate right. So, but especially working out and everything. But for what he does, he's more serious about having lupus, and they do have lupus campaigns within his global organization, bodybuilding organization that he's director of. But he is very serious, and they do have some other men. I know someone in my neighborhood that had it. It affected his joints to where he couldn't move his hands, and he got stuck, and he had to have surgery on his hands. So I do know more of the man's perspective of it, and not a lot of women in my life that have lupus, but more men for the most part that have lupus.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, as we did our back before we came on live, there's two ladies, young ladies, that come from a sorority as they did their introduction, and I learned a very unique piece of information from them, that they are recently very new to being diagnosed with lupus. And so then we're going to start there. Then we're going to move to the veteran warriors. And so if Amanda, can you tell us, because that's one thing that you and Latoya shared with us, that you guys are just now getting your diagnosis. So Amanda, can you kind of touch on how that's affected you, and how did you get to the point to where you knew something was wrong?
Well, I think, it started a few years ago. I started to have a lot of headaches, a lot of confusion. I I passed out a few times. I didn't really know, what was going on. The doctors were like, "Oh, you just, sat up too fast. You got up too fast, whatever." Um, my joints were, acting up. I couldn't, pick up things like I used to. I couldn't run like I used to. I couldn't, I used to be a runner. Um, and I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't ride my bike. I couldn't, things started to hurt. And so when I went to the doctors, they're like, "Oh, you're just, you're getting older. They give me every excuse that out there." And I'm like, I know I'm getting older, but I can still do these things. So, a doctor after doctor, they couldn't explain it. When they started to see the rashes going on around my body, they're like, "Okay, something else is going on," but they still couldn't pinpoint what's going on. Around I guess December of 2019, I missed work for about a month because I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't walk. It was just, I was just there. And so when I went to, when I was trying to talk to my boss, I was like, I can't go to work. I can't function. And it was, Christmas time, I can't get into, specialist at that time, nothing, it was Christmas time. I couldn't do anything. So after that, once January came, I could finally get in, and they're like, "Yes, your blood work's off. We don't know what it is." And so after a year of going to different doctors, more doctors, my primary doctor finally said, "Oh, maybe lupus." And that's when I finally got to go to a rheumatologist, and finally they figured out lupus. So, yeah, it took a long time to figure out anything, but so yeah, it was a roller coaster ride till the end, and yeah, it was hard, but we got there finally. So I'm glad we finally got the answer. We know what's going on, and at least we know how we can treat it and what we can do about it. But yeah, it was a long road.
Victoria?
My story is very similar to Amanda's and probably a lot of other women or men who have been diagnosed with lupus. For years, I've just been having aches and pains and just rashes, and sometimes I would have cankers inside my mouth, little sores in my nose, and I had no idea why. It got to the point to where my aches would just hurt so bad that I started going to the doctor. The doctor blamed it on my age, or you're not working out enough, or you're working out too much. Then it ended up being, "Oh, you have fibromyalgia." So I was like, okay, well, I can work around that. I understand that. But then the rashes and everything else just wasn't making sense. And I too, like Amanda, passed out one day at work. And when they sent me to the doctor, the ER, they did all kinds of scans on me, lesions on my liver, lesions on my kidneys, blood in my urine. And still it was, "Oh, well, we have to figure out what's going on." So when I followed up with my primary he sent me to a rheumatologist. The rheumatologist asked me, well, have they ever tested you for lupus? And I said, no. He said, well, that's going to be one of the first things that we need to do here. When they took my blood, and he told me that they would follow up with me with the results. But on my phone, I have the little patient checker where all the information goes there. I just so happened to look maybe like next day, and it had the ANA results on there. And I didn't call the doctor. I didn't let them call me first. I called my cousin, and my cousin explained everything to me, told me about this, what this meant, the urine, this, la 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 la. And I was like, oh my gosh. At first, like I said before, I had a knot in my throat because I knew what lupus was. However, I was relieved that it wasn't in my mind. It was something really wrong with me. And now I just have to just pray that everything would work out. And luckily, by the grace of God, I was scrolling through Facebook and I found a wonderful support system in Lambda Sigma Sigma Lupus Sorority. And they were able to help me understand a little bit more about what I was going through. And I'm so thankful for those ladies.
Okay, Latoya, since we're right there, you mentioned something in our introductions. Tell me about the mental part of it, with us being in the middle of COVID as well. So tell me how you've processed that and the mental part of it.
To be honest, I really don't think I'm fully able to still grasp of the whole thing because I was diagnosed at the end of 2019. And right when I was getting ready to start going to different doctors and having this checked out, that's when COVID hit. And that caused me to like back up from everything because I knew that by me having an underlying disease that I was potentially one of the ones that might catch COVID. So I just started backing up from everybody. And the only thing that I was able to do was just get my medicine and stay to myself. And at that time, I was working for an oil and gas company. Luckily, I was able to work from home, but yeah, I still wasn't able to get the support that I needed at that time until I did find Lambda. And probably still don't have all the mental things that I need to accept that this is what I have.
Right. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the Warriors, who's been in this fight a little while. Veronica, let's start with you. We've heard the caretakers, we've heard Dr. Karen, we've heard the two young ladies that's new to the diagnosis. Veronica, tell us how it takes a part in when you just do something simple, plan a vacation for your family. Do you have to take that into consideration?
I do. Unfortunately, we can't be in sunlight like that for long periods of time. Therefore, going to the beach, it's not going to be in the plans. I mean, it can, but unfortunately, I would have to have long, like basically, I have to look like I'm walking around with everything covered from head to toe. When I got diagnosed in 2017, just like Latoya, it was like a knot in my throat when I got the phone call. Call my mom, and she's a very spiritual lady. So instantly, prayer kicked in. Find your corner, pray about it. It's gonna work out. She then reached out to some of her friends. Then they started sending me books. This book, it entails about a guide for patients and their families. It helps with just basically knowing the mental state of a lupus patient. Because as you ladies know, we could be walking around happy-go-lucky and literally be in pain. I would have incidents where I literally couldn't lift a washcloth some days. What happened was I was in so much pain I couldn't walk one day, and my mother-in-law took me to the emergency room. Of course, they didn't find anything, gave me some ibuprofen, and basically sent me out the door. So, Dr. Karen, I want to thank you for facilities that you have, because at the time I was in between jobs, and the emergency room sent me to a facility that was low income based, and I had an awesome primary care physician who just actually like listened to some of the things that I was listing off to him that was going on with my body. And no sooner, he actually told me like my ANA test, it came back so rapid, he was surprised. And I knew the phone call was going to come, and I was dreading the phone call, but he walked me through it. The nurse practitioners walked me through it. They helped me with any type of financial assistance that I needed. And I basically was in the door. Medicine was coming to my door. I didn't have to go get it. It was coming to my door left and right. So everything was set up through this institution. And I was so grateful that they have facilities out there like that, Dr. Karen, that can help people get the help that they need. Once I started on my medication, of course, I had the different symptoms due to the medication, which wasn't really something that I was really into at the time, because I was constantly going to the bathroom left and right. My body had to get used to it. So as the years progressed, I learned to not do as much because I know stress can bring on my flares. So I tried to scale back a little bit, but it's hard for me to do that because in my family, we're so used to going. We're not used to someone saying, okay, that piece of paper needs to be picked up. We go and we just pick it up. So I have to try to learn to kind of calm myself down a little bit and let someone else carry the load, because I know I can't do it all by myself. I'm not going to take up too much time, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Vanika. Shawanda, we talked about vacations. So how has, because I don't know, we're you guys are educating us on something that so many people don't know about. And I'm noticing the comments, there have been people that are really commenting very good, because one lady said, she goes, I'm in pain right now, but it's conversations like this that make the pain seem not so real. And that came from Natasha. And there's just so many comments on here that people are bringing about good dialogue. So Shawanda, tell us about the finance part, because I haven't heard anyone, I've heard you guys say how it affects your job performance. How does it take effect on your finances as a whole?
That's good. You asked me that question. Now, I was still working in the process at the time when I found out that I had lupus. I just stopped working, actually, probably not even a whole year now. So, but I'm out of work on long-term disability, and I'm waiting Social Security disability. But at the same time, it does affect my income, because when it comes to not having insurance is really the hard part. It's the hard part, especially when you still have to continue to go to your doctors. And I just recently got me some type of insurance coverage to even get my lab works done, because the labs that you have to get constantly, like every 2 to 3 months, you have to get lab work done constantly just to even have the medication that they put you on. I'm on medication for diabetes, I'm on medication for RA, and I'm on medication for lupus. So the income sometimes is not even there to afford my medication. Thank God for my husband, thank God for my children and my siblings, because if I don't have it, I got somebody to go to that's going to be able to help me. It's not really easy, even with my job I had before. I had insurance, but still they got you on so much medication, especially that hydroxychloroquine. I went through something when COVID first broke out with that hydroxychloroquine. They did not want to give me my medicine. I was like, no, y'all gonna give me my medicine because I need this hydroxychloroquine. Y'all not gonna tell me I can't get my medicine because of COVID and there's a shortage, you know? And then They was like, well, my doctor said, get your 3-month supply. Oh Lord. So then here it is. That's expensive. But I got that 3 month. I made my way to get that 3-month supply and to come up with that money to get my 3-month supply, because they were saying it was a shortage, or it's going to be for the people with COVID. No, hey, us over here with lupus, don't forget about us, because we want to live too. We want to live too. We need our medication. And just like Dr. Karen was saying, they don't like to listen to you at the ER. I went to the ER with chest pains. They sent me back home. The doctor told me, don't come back. Don't come back if I'm hurting again, because it's just a lupus flare-up. Every time I go, it's a lupus. Well, I need help with this lupus flare-up. That's why I come. But here it comes again. If you don't have the insurance, they think you don't have the money, and sometimes you really don't. You just building up medical expenses, but you're trying to do what you can do to live. It is a struggle. It is a struggle. I've been diagnosed since 2010. I tell people I've been diagnosed since 2010 with lupus, but I'm still pushing my way, and I can side with all of you with the aches and the pains, the sore nose, the sores in the nose, the sores in the mouth. I had that. I just recently had some in my mouth. It is horrible, but the money, you need the money. You got to eat right. It costs money to eat right. It costs money to eat right. Unfortunately, I don't. I'm sure a lot of us don't. We're not qualified for food stamps. A lot of us don't qualify for food stamps. They don't care if you got lupus and you need to eat right, because there's certain things that you can and cannot eat because of the inflammation that builds up in our bodies. This inflammation builds up in our bodies, y'all, and it hurts. It hurts everywhere. Sometimes I can't even lift my arm. Sometimes I can't even stand up out my bed. Sometimes I can't even wash myself. And it is a struggle trying to just eat right, keep your medication. I know what y'all going through. I side with y'all. It is horrible. I hate lupus. I hate it. And I don't even like the word hate, but I hate lupus because it is so horrible. And people don't listen to us. Because it's a silent killer. People don't even listen to us. We look like we're not in pain because we walking normal, but we're hurting. We're in pain. We're in pain. They don't understand it. They don't understand it. But yet the financial side it's a struggle. It's a real struggle. But I thank God for my husband. I thank God for my children. My children are all grown. Got their own money. So when I need something, they are there. They are there. It's a struggle. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. I really do appreciate it, because now I really know I'm not alone. I really know I'm not alone.
Thank you so much for being so
Thank
passionate. I mean, I love your passion. I love you guys' passion. I want to, and anyone can answer this question, because I got the opportunity to volunteer with Dr. Karen, but I want to know what information has been shared with you guys as it pertains to the COVID vaccine and your condition. What information has been shared with you guys? Is it, because I'm really curious, is it something, because talking about the vaccine, and if you don't feel comfortable, that's why I didn't want to call on anyone. I want someone really to volunteer, because I know just to make the decision to whether to do the vaccine or not is a individual case by case. But what information has been shared with you guys, if someone would like to talk about as it pertains to the COVID vaccine and your condition? Anyone can take it.
Well, I know with me, I haven't gotten a vaccine yet. It was recommended for me to get the vaccine. At this point, I think it's more so me of being scared, because I am really scared, because I feel like they haven't did enough research with the vaccine. Right. And then there's my immune system. So I'm getting a vaccine and I'm trusting you with my life, because my immune system is not like someone else's. And it's kind of like I feel the same way with the elderly. Their immune system, they ran a race. So their immune system is the same thing. But with me, it's more higher. So at this point, I'm still, like, y'all understand, when I say I have anxiety. I have made 3 appointments and have not gone to any of them because my anxiety is so high with getting this shot and afraid that I may be in a situation that my body rejects it all. So Dr. Karen maybe can help me out, but my anxiety level is at an all-time high just getting the shot.
I can try, because one thing I cannot promise you, I can't promise you that the shot won't cause a flare, and that's what you're worried about. And it's going to hurt if it does, right? I have a patient who has rheumatoid arthritis. He does not have lupus. And he asked me this same question recently. And I said, well, I will message. I work in a good, like you were talking about, a good integrated system where we have good communication. And I said, I can message your rheumatologist and get them to tell us what's safe for you. And the doctor wrote me back and said, here's the thing. Yeah, the shot could cause a flare, but COVID kills by immune flares. A lot of the problems people have in the ICU are their own immune system not responding right to the disease. So she would much rather he get the shot than get the COVID. So that's one thing I can put out there. I just tell people what I'm supposed to do is give you information while you're making your decision. Because I can't tell anybody it's okay to have a lupus flare. That's not my decision to make for you, right? I will say this. I don't want to get too political here. I was not a fan of the last president. I'll just say that. And the last administration took credit for getting this shot done in 1 year. That is actually not true. The technology in the mRNA vaccines, the Pfizer and the Moderna, is 16 years old. They made it, I know, you haven't heard that, right? They made it for SARS over in Asia. Some scientists, I don't know where the scientists were from, because globally we work together as doctors, right? Well, every profession now is global. You know that in oil and gas, right? Everything's global. But whoever was working on SARS, the first SARS virus in Asia 15, 16 years ago was called SARS-CoV-1. COVID is SARS-CoV-19. It's a SARS virus. This is SARS in America. That's what COVID is. We don't want to call it that because we want to think we're better than Asia. Did I say that out loud? So the vaccine technology has been around for 16 years, not 1 year. All they had to do in that last year was adapt it for this SARS virus. That helped me a lot because I take my science seriously and I watch what's going on. And I was like, how'd they do that in 1 year? I had a patient come in last week and he said, oh, you were so right about that. My daughter works in DC and she works for an agency that funds biochemical research. And she's been keeping her head down for 4 years and is very happy right now. That's what he said. He said she was so angry. She said, I remember funding this 10 years ago. Why are they saying they just invented it this year? So I want you to have that information. The first piece about the 16 years old, I either got from a journal article or a science podcast. And the second piece I got from a patient of mine. So I want you to have that information. It is not a 1-year-old shot. I have given it to 4,000 people in my own organization, and the paramedics in our town come and help us. They sit in the gym at the high school during the observation time, whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And when I said, are y'all ready for emergencies? They laughed at me. They said, we've been doing this for months now. We've never seen an emergency with this shot. This is the cleanest shot we've ever worked with. But we'll be there in case people panic or pass out. Or if someone does have trouble, we will be there and we'll take it seriously. But they're not seeing a lot of trouble with it. So those are some data points I can give you. And the last thing is this. I have a whole long puppet show. I'll put a video on Facebook or something. But your RNA is just a messenger between the nucleus of the cell, which is a blueprint, and the factory in the cell that makes proteins. Everything you got is made out of proteins, ladies. And the RNA in the virus does not go to the nucleus of your cell. at all. It doesn't change your DNA. It just goes to the protein factory and says, hey, here's our blueprints for the day, make this. And your own body makes a protein that is just one plate in the virus's armor, just one protein in the coat. Sends it out, your body goes, ooh, stranger danger, and attacks it, and you're now immune. There is no virus in the shot. There's no killed virus, there's no live virus, and there's no weakened virus, and there's no virus RNA. What's in the shot is our copies. RNA is so universal that our body just breaks it down and reuses the building blocks. So I consider the shot very safe, absolutely very safe, but I cannot tell you it won't make you have a flare, and I understand the concern for that. Does that help?
It does, because like I'm getting off of a flare now. So it seems like every time I do make an appointment, I'm going through anxiety. And I know that causes flare because stress does. So it's right now I'm coming off of a flare. Currently now, right now, as we're talking.
I know. But here's what I tell my own patients when I'm being pretty strict with them. I say, whatever you're worried about, is it better than dying with your lungs full of water alone? Now that's rough, but that's what COVID can do. And you guys are more at risk. So that's all. I'll leave it at that. A little rough,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Thank you so much. And in the comments, I was reading them where some people have had, like Deidre, I've been fully vaccinated. The first and second shot caused me to have very terrible flare-ups. Then someone else said they've had the shots. The second one, the arm was just sore. Then you have people saying that everyone in their family got the vaccines except them, so they could be protected. So it's a case-by-case basis. Do the research. And everyone, since not only with the people with you guys who have lupus, it's a case, it's an individual decision. I'm so sorry, I'm just talking. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. And because in the comments, there have been some people say that they had terrible flare-ups with first and second shot. Then you've seen people say they had no problems. Then you see people in the comments that say everyone in their household got vaccinated because they had lupus. So it just goes back to a case by case basis. Research is like anything, that you're going to do is research. As we wrap up, I have a question that because I'm a chronic pain sufferer. So when people see me in the grocery store, especially my family, because they don't see it and it's not visible, they minimize my pain. They minimize, because as African American women and women of color, women, period, we push through. No matter what's going on, we push through. So I'm going to put this question out there, and this will be our last question. They're going to have, because I love moms, we're going to have Karen's mom just come and give us just a brief word as to some mommy wisdom, just some mom wisdom. But the last question before she comes up is, how frustrating is it to have a condition that, since you can't see it by the human eye, that people minimize how you are feeling because they can't see it? So anyone, if a couple of you guys could answer that question of how frustrating is that? Or is it something that you've experienced?
I can speak for myself. I know it's been plenty of times that I've had friends and family members invite me to gatherings or just out to eat, and I can tell them yes this week, but once the week that is supposed to happen, I'm backing out because I'm either in a flare or my knees hurt, my elbows hurt, my wrist hurt, my hands hurt, whatever the case may be. And I know eventually that those invites are going to stop. I hope they don't, but I just know that they're going to eventually stop asking Toya because Toya's not going to show up. But that's very frustrating for me.
Yes, because you can be feeling good one minute, and then all of a sudden you just like, woo, I'm tired, I'm wiped out, I can't do it, I'm tired, I'm not doing nothing else. I mean, You can be fine. Like my daughter had to take me to the doctor this week because I was fine one minute, and that morning I woke up. I said, Dee Dee, I can't do it. Can you please come take me to the doctor? I can't drive. I can be driving behind a car, driving behind a wheel, and I get sleepy. Sometimes I have to pull over, or I just have to come home and just lay down because it just falls on you that fast. And yeah, you could be invited somewhere, and then all of a sudden you be like, I can't make it. I'm sorry.
And my frustration comes from my brain fog because I'm so used to, I'm a Capricorn, so I'm used to everything being in order. And the brain fog for me, for those who don't know, it's kind of like dementia a little bit. Um, I will be talking and just going and knowing what I got to do, and next thing you know, it was like, what is it? What was I supposed to say? It could be a simple sentence. What was I supposed to say? And I get really frustrated with that because I've never dealt with that before.
I completely agree with the brain fog. I'm also Capricorn, and I need my things in order. I have to have my things done, and when I don't have it done or in order, it drives me crazy. But I work. I'm a speech therapist, a speech language pathologist, and I work with special needs kids. And so I work 10-hour days, and by 3 o'clock, I'm almost done with the day, and I'm still work till 7. So I got 4 more hours to go, and I'm exhausted by the time I'm done with work. And I'm just, my boss tries to work with me, and she's been really great, but my body is just, I don't know how much longer I can hold on, but I'll try, but it's really hard, but a lot of people don't see, that I'm hurting unless they know, that, or I tell them, that I'm hurting. But yeah, it's really hard when a lot of people don't know what's going on and, how much you're really hurting inside. So.
Well, let me compliment all you ladies on what you said, and, because I've been through all the things that y'all have gone through. Uh, I've gone on trips and come home. My arms are swollen. I can't hold the luggage. And I travel for a living for 34 years. But a lot of it is stress. The most stress you have, the flare-ups hit you. You're going to have to try to calm yourself and be true to yourself. You just because you working and they say you have to be there. Your health is more important than that job, because you have family, you have children, you have relatives that you are responsible for. So take your meds, keep your mind clear. I understand the frustration you have when you went to the doctors, because I go to the doctors. They go, "Oh, I don't know what that is," but sometimes you have to take your health in your own hands, and you just can't let that one doctor say, "Oh, it's all in your mind," because it's not all in your mind. You know what you're feeling, and you have to do some research and just step out there and find the right person. You need a doctor that's going to listen to you. You're going to not just take it in and not giving you back any feedback. You want somebody that's going to listen and know they're truly listening to you, that you have these pains, you have these issues, because I understand. And like my son, I knew he was having problems, and I had to find out what it was. He started off with this violent headache. I was out of town, and he called. He said, "Mom, I got this headache, and it won't go away."
He had to go to the emergency room. I got back. So, you know, we have to take care of ourselves, our family members, because it is hereditary.
It may skip some.
So it may skip some, but it's gonna go to somebody.
And then I feel like this with the doctor that you find, the doctor is very supportive, and they are accountable of everything that they have you do, and make you come in and hold your appointments. You know, make you come to your appointments, and that's one thing that your doctor should be doing, making sure that you come to your appointments, that you are out every time, that don't just. My brother's bad for this. Do not skip your appointment. Do not take all your medicine and you don't have any more, and then you gotta wait and then call somebody and say you need to get in, because my brother's bad for that. So we have to stay on top of him. And then your family members, you have to stay on top of that habit. Yes, so you pointing to yourself. Do not do that to yourself, because as soon as you have that flare up, then you be calling. He calls my mom, you got some medicine, So she has to give him her medicine, then she has to go back to the doctor or go get her other prescription. So be accountable for your doctor, be accountable for yourself. Know that you have family support, and if you are, your friends and families, and if you are invited somewhere and you're not maybe able to make it, tell me you have lupus. Don't be afraid to explain or what you have, and charge it to your mind and not your heart. And don't stop inviting you, because there's sometimes that you're gonna need to be able to get out. And this, just tell them that, and people are understanding these days. It's just like having cancer. You go through things. People are need support factors, and that sorority that you're in, I think that's the best support factor that you need. And if you are in the Houston area, I'm in Houston too. So if you need to get out sometime, then you just call me and let me know. You can hit me up. We get together. Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Ladies, thank you guys so much. I'm not sure how horrible my audio is. Is it still bad?
It's better right now.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sign us off. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Dr. Karen.
Thank you.
All you guys so much. This has been awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you for joining us at West Texas
Thank
Empowerment.
you.
You guys have been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.